Hi there, it's Peter and Mira.
Hello.
We're going to talk about flow. Why am I laughing? Because we've just had a few calamities where we were trying to film this, and so I guess I wasn't in flow literally just before we were talking then. And we really like this topic. Yeah, so what is flow? Well, it's got many labels. I just call it creativity. So if I get creative, I will go somewhere else. I time travel. Time disappears. It becomes relative. I just don't know where I go. But when I come back, I'm like, wow, that felt great. And my ego, I guess, once I've seen what I've done. So, for example, if I'm making music, I'm like, holy shit, that's good. And sometimes it isn't, obviously, as well. But I'm like, okay, that's really cool. So I must be a really good musician, a great producer. But actually, is it really just me? I know I am there at the controls of some of these things, but then I go somewhere else. Or another way of looking at it, I literally become like a conduit or a satellite receiver. And if my satellite dish is facing towards the right place, then I am there to receive pure creative energy. And I guess some people call it flow, right?
Yeah, flow has been researched a lot in psychology, and because it was researched a lot, people have created all the steps of how to get yourself in the flow. I mean, I'm just looking at the book Flow that I actually never finished reading because I could not get me flowing. But what's really interesting and what I kind of wanted to say about it is that I'm looking at it from a different direction. I wasn't a musician or somebody who gets in the flow by doing something like that. I get in a flow just by not thinking.
Yeah, that's a good point. And okay, I framed it initially as an artist from my experience of making music. But actually, as humans, I believe that we are creative at our core. It is, I guess, what makes us unique. And as a species, we are really deeply, inherently creative, right? And I guess that's what's how we evolved. We started off hunter and gathering. We then stumbled on fire, harnessed it, and then we started to share language around the campfire, I'm guessing, or this is the kind of theories that have been thrown out there when, all of the books that we've read.
Yeah. And, if we go back to flow, it's innate. We didn't create flow. We didn't create flow in charts and step by step getting into the flow. Flow was already there. I mean, if you look into animals, they get in flow all the time. Like if you look at the animal that it's hunting, when they're hunting, they are just there. Nothing else exists. And so it's very natural. Flow is probably one of the natural states for beings, and yet we are trying to recreate it. So what do you think, like from what I said just now, what do you think, why we sometimes have difficulty getting into flow, or why do we sometimes have difficulty getting into creative state?
Just because of thoughts and feelings around the topic. I guess if you've got a lot on your mind, or I'm not guessing, I know this because I've spent a good 10 years of my life as a musician. And again, not just in a creative, artistic type endeavors. I'm just talking daily life where I believe I can't be creative today. Or, for example, problem solving, that's deeply creative, to get yourself out of a pickle or to solve things, you need to get into a creative state, right? We all have that in abundance. It's there always. The only thing I'm guessing that gets in the way, or like I say from experience, is when we have thoughts or feelings to the opposite. If we convince ourselves that we're not creative, what do you think is going to happen? I've spent a lot of time thinking my mojo, or someone's turned the lights out, only to find out later that once you get over yourself and you just calm down and relax, or actually you don't have to do anything, you just wait till it passes, you're always going to get creative again, right?
Yeah, but you know what? Actually, I wouldn't even say wait until it passes, because when I was looking into flow a few days ago and I was writing something about it, flow seems to be just do it. Like step into the flow. But what happens is that we keep on thinking about, is this going to be possible? Is it not going to be possible? How is this going to be? We have all sorts of thinking about stuff that we do. I don't like this. I like this. It should be like that, or shouldn't be like that.
Well, I think we overcomplicate stuff. We're always looking for complexity, even though we all seek simple solutions, right? Yeah. But for whatever reason, we overcomplicate our lives, thinking that it has to be this complicated dance around the subject to get there. And yeah, I mean, it's a natural place where we go. And if we don't get in the way of it because it actually just happens, then that's kind of all there is, right?
Mm-hmm. And you know what's also interesting when it comes to that? The reason why they researched flow for so long was because they thought that the happiness, the flow is a way to get happy, to get happier. And what you just mentioned earlier is that when you are in the flow, when you become aware of, you get back to where you are, you become aware of the space around you and yourself, you feel really, really good. And that's the reason why they thought of teaching people flow and getting people into the flow to become happier and, to prevent psychological problems and all of that. But actually, if it's so easy to get into the freaking flow, it's so freaking easy to feel good, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. I mean, people have made the money, people have built careers on trying to help people get into that place. But again, we get into that place more often than you would actually care to believe. Yeah. And I'm guessing everyone you've ever spoken to, whether they tell you that they're not creative or not, they're there all the time, every single day. For example, even doing something as rudimentary as washing the dishes, it's kind of boring. But the fact that you kind of go into a meditative state, that's flow. Doing a task and just, the time disappears, that's getting into a creative place, We do it all of the time. We just forget that that's where it is, right? And I don't know, it's a tricky one because we obviously brought this subject up. We're talking about a word or a label, flow. But again, it's a lot simpler than that. It's just a place that we go where we draw upon our own heritage, which is that we are deeply creative creatures. And it's there when we need it, whether we see it or not. And it's really nice to know. I don't know about you guys, but when you've got your back against the wall, or you need to get yourself out of a problem, then you will always find the answer. The only tricky bit is you need to kind of wait to empty your head of certain thinking before you can, proceed. But yeah, as Mira said, you don't really need to do anything, although people do. And again, I'm not going to knock that. Some people have a routine or they do X, Y, Z to get into a certain place, but it's already there. And that's what we're kind of pointing towards, that it's something that's already in the background and it's actually working 100% of the time.
Yeah. You cannot not have it, because even animals have it.
Yeah. The only difference between us and animals is that we developed language. So animals just go into that place when they need it because they are basically surviving. They're doing their thing. They're just living the life the best they can. Whereas for us, we made it a bit tricky because we actually evolved to be able to communicate in great detail between each other, and then, between one-on-one, in groups, communities, across countries and continents.
We created stories.
Yeah.
And these stories are often, are product of that thinking that we can or can't do something. They're all stories.
Yeah, and I guess the stories we tell ourselves, although compelling, sometimes we just need to step back and go, what's all that about? Just get curious and go, is that really real? And a lot of the times for me, especially when I tell myself that I'm not feeling creative, it really is a story. And when I get over that and just let it go, I am always going to find a way forward in terms of my own creativity. And it seems weird even saying my own, because it's not really mine, it's everyone's. If you're a human being, then you've got that in abundance and you've got it to draw upon whenever you need it, because it actually comes from a place, or at least this from our experience, it's somewhere else, and it's there for us to take it whenever we want, which is cool, right?
Yeah, it is.
So yeah, I mean, again, we can get stuck and we can feel like we're not in the present and in this lovely state to be able to go off and create stuff, but it will pass, and it always does. And even in some of my darkest moments when I've been like, I can't do this, and then I've always had the download later, and it's like, oh, okay, I can. It's fine. I can get over this. And I think it's just knowing that even when it does get tricky, there's always going to be a way forward in the future, and you will always get insights, fresh thinking, and an answer to that question.
Yeah. So it's not about getting into the flow, the way of getting into the flow, the way of feeling better. It's figuring out your stories and dropping them. And I think,
but is it really dropping them, or is it just acknowledging that they exist and being okay with it? You don't really have to do anything.
Once you see that something is a story, you will, it won't be relevant anymore.
Yeah, I guess it just won't make sense for you to dwell on it too much, and then you'll find a way forward, right?
Yeah, you're not literally dropping it. I mean, physically, because it doesn't really exist, is it?
No.
It's a story.
Yeah, it's a story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I guess. Okay, well, thanks for watching.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.